I want my taxes to pay for ICE, to masked thugs to roam our streets and terrorize our communities and rip families apart. We should be taking care of each other. We should be minding each other. We should be housing the homeless. We shouldn't be, throwing people to the ground. Which brings me to Renee Nicole Good, murdered in front of her fellow citizens in Minneapolis, murdered in the streets.
I don't want my taxes to pay for ICE, to masked thugs to roam our streets and terrorize our communities and rip families apart, Dave Matthews declared in a powerful video statement that has since gone viral across social media platforms. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee's words, delivered while walking through his Seattle neighborhood on his birthday, have resonated with thousands who are questioning federal immigration enforcement tactics in the wake of a fatal shooting in Minneapolis. A birthday message that became a political statement. On Friday, January 10, 2026, the Dave Matthews Band frontman posted a lengthy video to the band's official social media channels. What began as Matthews expressing gratitude for his community and neighbors quickly evolved into a pointed critique of how the Trump administration allocates taxpayer money. The South Africa-born musician, who became a naturalized U.S. citizen and has called America home since 1986, spoke with uncharacteristic directness about his frustrations with current government policies. Matthews opened by acknowledging his fortunate life and willingness to pay taxes, stating they could even raise his rates, as far as I'm concerned, but with significant conditions. He outlined what he believes tax dollars should fund: bridges, national parks, highways, libraries, higher minimum wages for workers, better pay for nurses, free university education for those who can't afford it, and universal health care. These, he argued, are reasonable investments in society. What followed was a systematic dismantling of what he views as the administration's misuse of public funds, touching on foreign military operations, the situation in Gaza, and most pointedly, domestic immigration enforcement. The Minneapolis shooting that sparked outrage. The incident that prompted Matthews' statement involved Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old prize-winning poet, wife, and mother of three who was killed on January 7th by an ICE agent during a large-scale immigration enforcement operation in Minneapolis. Good was volunteering as part of neighborhood patrols that monitored ICE operations in the city, a practice that has emerged in communities concerned about aggressive enforcement tactics. Multiple videos captured the shooting, showing Good in her vehicle moments before the fatal encounter. Matthews addressed these videos directly in his statement, challenging the administration's narrative. No matter what narrative this administration is trying to sell us, we can see the videos, he stated, referencing footage that shows Good attempting to drive away from the confrontation before being shot. The musician acknowledged that some might view edited or slowed down footage and think the officer felt threatened. However, Matthews argued that from most angles and perspectives, it looks like she was trying to get away, and he shot her 3 times in the head, murdered in cold blood. Administration response and public backlash. The Trump administration characterized Good's killing as self-defense, with Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem claiming Good was attempting to run over the officer and had committed an act of domestic terrorism. This framing has been widely disputed by witnesses and critics who have reviewed the available footage. Vice President J.D. Vance went further, calling Good a deranged leftist and claiming she was part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. Such characterizations have only intensified public debate about the incident and the broader approach to immigration enforcement under the current administration. Matthews rejected these narratives entirely. It's mind-boggling, and it's deeply upsetting to me and to so many people, and we can't just let it slide, he said in his video statement. A broader critique of government priorities. The musician's condemnation extended beyond the Minneapolis incident to encompass what he views as systemic problems with current government priorities. Matthews criticized military operations in Venezuela that resulted in the capture of President Nicolas Maduro, calling it an action to steal their natural resources while threatening similar actions against other sovereign nations. His vision for how society should function stood in stark contrast to current enforcement practices. We should be taking care of each other. We should be minding each other. We should be housing the homeless, Matthews emphasized, painting a picture of a community-focused approach to governance rather than one centered on enforcement and control. The musician specifically criticized masked federal agents conducting operations in American communities, describing the image of unmarked officers in tactical gear as fundamentally at odds with the kind of society he believes America should be. Named officials and direct criticism. Matthews didn't limit his criticism to abstract policies. He specifically called out President Trump, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, Senior Advisor Stephen Miller, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, describing them all as just deeply, deeply dishonest people. Cowardly, shameful. His language grew more forceful as the video continued. The typically measured performer used explicit language to drive home his frustration, a choice he acknowledged might offend some viewers, but felt was necessary given what he perceives as the gravity of the situation. These are dark times, Matthews concluded, before closing with an explicit denunciation of the Immigration Enforcement Agency. Context: Matthews' history of activism. This isn't Matthews' first foray into political commentary. Throughout his decades-long career, the musician has consistently used his platform to champion progressive causes and speak out on issues of social justice. His background as an immigrant who chose to make America his home adds particular weight to his comments on immigration policy and enforcement. Born in Johannesburg, South Africa, Matthews experienced firsthand what it means to relocate to a new country and build a life there. His family moved between South Africa, England, and the United States during his childhood before he ultimately chose to settle permanently in America, becoming a citizen in 1980. The broader artist response. Matthews wasn't alone in speaking out about the Minneapolis incident. Other prominent musicians, including Duran Duran, Neil Young, Billie Eilish, and Joe Keery, have also condemned the shooting and broader IC operations. During a concert in Sacramento, California, Duran Duran dedicated their performance of Ordinary World to Good's memory, with frontman Simon Le Bon telling the audience that people deserve to live lives of peace, freedom, and happiness in their own countries. This collective response from the music community reflects growing concerns among artists and public figures about immigration enforcement practices and the broader direction of government policy. The willingness of established, mainstream artists to use explicit language and make pointed political statements suggests a shift in how cultural figures are engaging with current events. Public reaction and online response. Matthews' video quickly drew thousands of reactions on social media, with many fans praising him for speaking out. Comments ranged from expressions of gratitude for his willingness to address difficult topics to birthday wishes mixed with support for his message. The post's rapid spread across platforms demonstrates both the reach of Matthews' fan base and the resonance of his message with people concerned about immigration enforcement practices. The shooting itself ignited protests nationwide, with demonstrations erupting in multiple cities following Good's death. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey called for federal agents to leave the city, stating that the incident involved an agent recklessly using power that resulted in someone's death. The mayor's response reflects tensions between local governments and federal enforcement agencies operating within their jurisdictions. The question of tax dollars and accountability. At the heart of Matthews' statement is a fundamental question about how democratic societies allocate resources and hold government agencies accountable. His framing of the issue through the lens of taxation, what citizens are compelled to fund through their contributions to the government, resonates with a long-standing American tradition of demanding accountability for how public money is spent. The musician's willingness to say he would accept higher taxes if they funded social programs, infrastructure, and community support creates a clear contrast with his opposition to funding immigration enforcement operations he views as terrorizing communities. This distinction challenges the common political narrative that positions taxpayers as uniformly opposed to government spending, instead suggesting that the issue is not the amount spent, but rather the purposes for which funds are allocated. Immigration enforcement under scrutiny. The Minneapolis shooting has focused renewed attention on ICE operations and enforcement tactics. Questions about when and how force is justified during immigration enforcement actions, the use of tactical gear and masked officers in community settings, and the accountability mechanisms for federal agents have all become subjects of intense public debate. Critics of current enforcement approaches argue that the presence of heavily armed, often masked federal agents conducting operations in residential neighborhoods creates an atmosphere of fear that extends far beyond individuals targeted for immigration violations. They contend that such tactics damage community trust, make immigrant communities less likely to cooperate with law enforcement on other matters, and create constitutional concerns about the appropriate use of federal law enforcement power. Supporters of aggressive immigration enforcement maintain that officers face genuine dangers during operations and require protective equipment and tactical approaches to ensure their safety while carrying out their duties. They argue that individuals who resist or flee from immigration enforcement actions bear responsibility for any resulting escalation. Moving forward, community response. In the wake of Good's death, Minneapolis communities have organized vigils, protests, and mutual aid networks. The incident has galvanized organizing around immigration rights and police accountability, with activists connecting it to broader concerns about the use of force by law enforcement and federal agencies. Matthews concluded his video by apologizing for what he acknowledged was a dark message, while also asserting that these are dark times. He encouraged his fans to take care of one another and lead with love, sending condolences to Good's family, friends, and community. The statement from such a prominent mainstream artist represents a notable moment in how public figures are responding to current events. Whether it signals a broader shift in how celebrities engage with political issues or remains an isolated response to a particularly tragic incident remains to be seen. What's clear is that the conversation around immigration enforcement, the use of federal power, and community safety continues to evolve, with voices from across society weighing in on fundamental questions about what kind of country America aspires to be. As the investigation into Good's death continues and communities process the implications of the shooting, Matthews' words serve as both a eulogy for a life lost and a call to reconsider the priorities and methods of government action. His message, delivered on what should have been a day of personal celebration, instead became a rallying cry for those who believe that taxpayer dollars should build communities rather than tear them apart.